Hello and welcome to the inaugural Bookbreakrs podcast. My name is Alan and I'm joined today by the Fountains of Reason, aka Paul and Enda. We'll get the lads to do a little intro in a second. So, as I said, my name is Alan. I've set up an app called Bookbreakrs. The goal of Bookbreakrs is basically to enhance your enjoyment of football without losing money. So, there's a lot of people out there today who might bet on football or who might play fantasy football who'll have an interest in this app. Essentially, it's a community of football predictors. People put their predictions into the app. It's free to play, and for the winners, you could win a cash prize. Through that process, we identified the top football predictors out there, and you can then follow these guys. So following someone means that you get notified whenever they make banker predictions, which is your top pick each week, and NAP predictions, which are 5 of your most confident picks. So we'll step through the app in more detail as we progress through the pod. But to start off, I'll just introduce the two guys. So we have Enda, who's a staunch Liverpool supporter, and Paul, who's a staunch United fan. So we should get some serious insights from the two guys as we go. So Paul, do you want to give us a quick intro?
How we doing, everybody? Yeah, my name is Paul. As you can see from the shirt, if you're watching this on video, I'm a Manchester United fan. Not, I would say, your typical Manchester United fan. I don't necessarily go with the flow, go with the masses. We'll get into that in more detail, I'm sure, as we go on. If you want to follow me on the Bookbreakrs app, my predictions, you'll find my profile name is The Champ, because I won the inaugural season-long Bookbreakrs competition. So it might be worth following me. See how we get on.
Cool. And
yeah, my name's Enda. I'm a Liverpool fan. Where do I start? I'm not a fountain of knowledge, all right, but like Paul, I'm not your typical you'll never walk alone man. I have my own opinion. I'm a fan of many sports and like to inform myself about these sports and therefore have an informed opinion. That's me.
Very good. Cheers. I should point out that I'm a United fan myself from long before we ever started winning anything, but we won't get into that. But I'll be mediating between the two lads if needed, but hopefully we'll provide some entertainment along the way anyway. The format of the pods is basically each week the guys will start off and the guys will put forward their top picks for the weekend's football or the midweek football. We'll track those then in subsequent pods and we'll look at the guys' statistics. So within the app we track profit and win percentage. So we'll be seeing how the guys go throughout the season. And then following that, we'll dive into something topical going on in the world of football. So this week it's going to be the European Super League. So let's kick off. Let's start. Enda, I'll go to you first. Do you want to give us some of your predictions for the weekend? Something you fancy?
I fancy Liverpool.
Might be of interest.
No surprise. They're playing against Newcastle. Newcastle are safe. They're just going to stop playing now. I probably see Newcastle scoring, given that Nat Phillips isn't playing and he's probably the more solid of the two centre halves. So Liverpool 2-1, 3-1 for me. Chelsea will beat. Are we going just one or two? Or?
Well, I think we'll go with an extra one, given you're a Liverpool fan. Let's pull in another one.
Chelsea will beat West Ham 2-0, 1-0. It won't be a great game. West Ham have hit their ceiling, I think. They've gone beyond it. And while Chelsea won't have a full team out, they will beat them. So under 2.5 goals and Chelsea to win for me.
Okay, nice. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, on tonight's game, I don't think we've missed the kickoff of it yet. The Arsenal Everton, I think, will be a draw. Neither side are pulling up trees at the minute, very inconsistent. Neither of them have much of a chance really of getting into the European competitions. Certainly, Arsenal haven't via the Premier League anyway, an outside chance in the Europa League, but I wouldn't count on it. So I reckon a score draw tonight, Arsenal Everton. I'd agree with Enda. I think Chelsea will beat West Ham. Said to you guys last week, I think the wheels are going to come off for West Ham. Their squad isn't big enough or strong enough to sustain a push for the Champions League, especially at the squeaky bum time of the season. I was going to go with the Liverpool to beat Newcastle as well, but I think I'll go with Sheffield United Brighton to be a draw, an under 2.5 draw. Two very uninteresting teams to watch. Don't worry about that anomaly when they beat United at Old Trafford. But yeah, so I'll go with that. I'll go Sheffield United, low score and draw.
They play a nice sort of style of football, Brighton, and if you look at their XG, they should be scoring way more goals than they do. If they sign a striker in the summer and start converting chances, they could be a team to watch next year. But yeah, okay, cheers to that, Paul. From me then, I'll put forward a few as well. So I like Aston Villa to beat West Brom. I think Leicester put the nail on the West Brom coffin there earlier this week. I think, they didn't seem to show much fight in that game. I think Villa equally have little to play for at this point, but I just think they've the better squad, the better players, and defensively they're quite strong. So I think if they score, they'll probably win. In the Championship, I'm going to dip my toe into the Championship, and there's still a lot going on there in terms of promotion and relegation. So at this stage of the year, it's important that if you are having a bet or if you are making predictions in the app, that you focus on games that have, something where the teams have something to play for, whether it is promotion, relegation, or teams that are still in cups as well, who players might be looking for to stake a claim. So the game I'm looking at is Derby and Birmingham. So I think that's got draw written all over it. I think Derby aren't playing well. I think they'll probably go into the game quite cautious. I can see this being a 0-0 or a 1-1. A point suits Birmingham, definitely. They've just kind of escaped relegation, really. And, I just don't... they've a new manager, Lee Boyer. He's come in, so like from what I've seen, the players are all running around now, doing what they should have been doing under the old manager before they got him the sack. So I think they'll be up for it. Derby, I think they'll be just happy with a point here as well and just move away from Rotherham, who are below them. So that's the other one I like. I think both to score in the Leeds United game. United might have one eye on Europa. Leeds will stay going till the 95th minute. That's just their style under Bielsa. So yeah, those would be my three. If I was to put in just a kind of wild card one, I think Barnsley and Rotherham could be a draw as well in the Championship. Rotherham desperately need to escape relegation. But Barnsley are still fighting for top 6, so I can see that being a tight game. And that's it. So we'll recap those next week, see how we all got on, and there'll be a bit of abuse flying around and stuff. Let's see how we get on over the next few weeks as the season draws to a close. If you are looking to check out the app, it's Bookbreakrs, BOOKBREAKRS. So no E at the end. Bookbreakrs. It's on the App Store, and the Android version is available to download as an SDK. So you can, if you just go to any of our social media, you'll find the link to that. Cool. Let's jump on then. So we're going to talk about the European Super League this week. A lot going on in the last week or so around this. A lot of opinion in the media from ex-players, managers, owners, everything. I'm going to throw out a few questions to the lads, and we'll debate the points. And the first question is the European Super League a bad idea? Enda, do you want to kick us off?
Of course it is. Like, it's elitism. There was no relegation or plans. It was ill-conceived. Everything about it was ill-conceived. The release time, the setup of it, it is badly like the why it's ill-conceived. We can go into that if you want, like, but and the way they said they just released it. Here's what we're doing. It's something that basically was made up on the back of a cigarette paper. Do you know, like?
Yeah, there seems like there wasn't any communication with FIFA or any of the governing bodies.
Fans, I know they're saying that the football is dead and it's all about the money men and all this. Yeah, and yet the owners are coming back when they've reeled back in. They're saying, "Oh, we didn't do it with the fans, with the input of the fans, and this is why it's not going ahead and all this." So, yeah. I don't know.
The Barcelona president came out in the last few days saying that. So Barcelona, Juventus, and is it Atletico? 3 of them haven't pulled out yet anyway, and the Barcelona president was basically saying, like,
and Real as well.
Yeah, we're going to keep working on this. So I don't think we've seen the end of it. There's probably more to come. But Paul, I'll throw it over to you. Is the European Super League a bad idea?
In theory, no. I'd like to see it in some format. I think, as Enda said, the way they went about it was very badly thought out. You know, for guys who are successful businessmen, to so badly gauge what the public opinion would be, and it was shocking, really, to be honest with you. I think they would have been surprised at the kickback they got against it. But, you know, as I said to you guys earlier on the week, football is struggling financially at the minute. There's 2 reasons why it's struggling financially. One, obviously, is that there's an impact from the coronavirus, but the main reason is they've allowed football to overtake itself, really, in terms of finances. You know, you got players earning stupid amounts of money. You got fans paying stupid money for football shirts and for tickets. You know, Arsenal's a really good example. I think they've an astronomical, I don't know the figure offhand, but you're definitely talking in excess of $2,000 for a season ticket to watch Arsenal, who I think are currently in 9th in the table. You know, it doesn't really make sense, but I think football in some way needed this. They may well have needed the money that was on offer from it, but I think maybe the lesson they've learned from it might be even more valuable in the long term. So in theory, no. And I do think, as you said about Barcelona haven't officially pulled out, I don't think Barcelona can afford to pull out of it. They're in debt I think it's to the tune of about €1 billion. I was listening to something the other day where it said that each club has put £8 million or euros, I'm not too sure which, into this as a setup fee. And I think there was some clause, something to the tune of 40 million for anyone who pulled out in the first 3 years or something like that. So everyone who's involved in it has immediately lost 50 million. So there's lessons to be learned from it. So
yeah,
even the bank has lost from it. JP Morgan was putting up the 6 billion or whatever to
finance it,
to finance it, right? And the way they rate banks is they rate them as going concerns. So this bank is it's a level of corporate risk, we'll say. So this bank has governed well and is not a risk. And after this, they've gone into this bank is a danger, basically. So
Well, same
that
as
tells
myself.
you that tells you the level of kind of do's and don'ts in it.
Yeah, it's just like, as I said to you guys last week, and in case you're wondering on the pod why we keep referring to last week when this is the first ever podcast, it's because we tried to record the podcast last week and we did record it, except we didn't record audio. So here we are again, we're doing it all over. So lessons being learned left, right, and center. But
Bear with us, yeah. Bear with us.
bear with us. But yeah, like if you look at some of the clubs involved, like it does seem to be money. Like obviously, how did Spurs make the top 12? If you're a fan looking at this, you are talking about the top 12 clubs in Europe, then if a fan saw the actual top 12 clubs in Europe, they might think, oh well, let's hear them out. But when you see that they've cherry picked clubs based on probably ownership, like to start off, that's probably a bitter pill to swallow. But then no consultation with fans, that's horrendous. And then all the owners are coming out and in all of their statements, it's, we know the game is nothing without you fans and all this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's just pathetic,
Like,
really.
For me, it's like it's a self-interest. At the very, like, there's layers to it. It's a self-interest for Real, for Barca, for Man United, I think, because they're leveraged up to their eyes in debt. And then the rest of them kind of came along and said, well, they're going to do this anyway, we might as well get in. Instead of looking back and saying, hold on, these lads are short of money. They're going to have to go back, going to have to do what a normal football club, in inverted commas, should do when they run out of money. Go back to their youth, sell a few of their players, go back to their youth, develop their own players, instead of trying to buy it every season. So they didn't want to do that. And they said, right, what's the answer? European Super League, more money, we're sorted, to hell with the rest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. It's been to hell with the rest. But like, when FIFA Fair Play came in, like, Real Madrid they were in fucking serious, they were in hundreds of millions of euros in debt. And they just got wiped out by the Spanish government. It didn't get paid off, it got wiped out.
The Spanish government, the Madrid council couldn't afford for Real Madrid to go bust because it would have.
That's what I mean. The Spanish government couldn't afford.
Destroyed their tourist industry for the city.
Yeah. So like, they've been getting away with it for years.
The point you make,
they have to take their medicine, I think.
The point you make about transfers is definitely like, and that is a proven model. Like if you look at the likes of Peterborough or whatever, they definitely have a model going where they search for up and coming talent, progress them, sell them, and that kind of keeps their club going around.
Southampton do that very well as well.
Yeah, Southampton. But if you look at the European Super League, the chances are that it would enrich those 12 clubs, and they would then basically pull all the top talent to those 12 clubs, and then it's even more hard. Yeah. It's harder for everyone else to compete.
Does that not happen anyway? I mean, Chelsea are a very good example of that. They sign up all the top youth players, never played them for the first team. They've, like, at any stage 25, 35 players out on loan that never actually play in the first team.
It does, but
there's a lot wrong with it.
If you take the example of Dortmund, Paul, like Dortmund have the ability to sign players because players know when they go there they'll be developed. But if you throw enough money at the likes of a Jude Bellingham or a Haaland, then a lot of those deals won't happen, and it'll probably impact the development of players because you'll have these guys just sat on benches and when they could be, playing for other clubs. Like there's a whole host of stuff here, and the fact that their plan didn't cover any of the detail, really.
It just goes to show, I think, that it was all about them getting money because they need it. And they can cover it up with their noise. They can only hold on to so much. So you couldn't spend any of it on players. Of course, they weren't going to spend it on players. They're broke. They need to hold on to all of it.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on to the next question, which is basically, could the European Super League work with changes? Paul, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, it definitely could, and I do firmly believe that we will see a European Super League of some description in the very near future. It's obviously, I think it'll have to be in some way under the control of UEFA. I think these guys, the likelihood of these guys going out on their own now is slim to none. They've kind of shown their hand, and it's backfired on them. So I don't see that they'll, as a group of 12 individual clubs, get that opportunity again. So I know there's, UEFA bringing in changes to the Champions League in 24-25 season, but I think maybe beyond that, you might see some sort of a Super League format. I mean, it makes more sense. The Europa League, I'm not a big fan of teams who get knocked out of the Champions League going into the Europa League. I think that devalues that competition. To the teams that have been in it from the start, that have played the I think it's 8 group games. To see the ones who failed in the Champions League get thrown into it, and chances are United could win it this season, but in reality they shouldn't be in it. They had their chance at the Champions League and they got knocked out fair and square. So I think the whole format is wrong. I think we'll see some changes in a few years, but it'll be the end of the Champions League in some way, shape or form. There won't be competition, a Super League competition running in unison with the existing Champions League anyway.
Yeah, it is a bit ridiculous that you kind of go through your Europa group and then you get these guys thrown in, having kind of done that. It's
a bad idea.
Enda, can it work with changes?
Can it work with changes? Sure, working with changes is the Champions League as it is. Like, I don't see how you can throw, like, unless you give the bigger teams more seedings or whatever. I don't see it working. No, I mean the concept of the competition itself takes away the theory of competition, right? You're taking the best teams and throwing them all in a league. Why? Either like the Super League itself, throwing all the best teams together, I don't see it working. Change the Champions League, yes. They're putting more teams in it. Yeah. I'd make less teams in it. It's I find it very hard to watch European soccer anymore because there's so much of it on. It's on all the time. There's too many games, too many meaningless games. Change the Champions League and you don't need Super League. The Super League as a concept for me is only about Barca, as I've said, my other point, Real and all these big clubs, Juventus, running out of money. Let them run out of money and let them deal with it.
Even from a fan perspective, I don't think any fan wants to see those 12 guys playing each other.
I mean, like Real Madrid against sorry, apologies. Real Madrid against Liverpool, the last day was like the build up to it was the first time they played since the centre half broke Salah's shoulder. That was the build up to it. Whereas they were playing them again in 3 weeks' time and all this. Like, how does that work? It doesn't, like, for me anyway.
But you couldn't have a league without the German teams anyway, or like without PSG and stuff like that. Like, it just wouldn't work. I think the existing Champions League format like works to a large extent. Would you want to play it out on a league basis each year? Maybe like if they did have relegation and the opportunity for other teams who win their leagues or whatever to then join that league the next year, something like that.
But is that not just the Champions League? I suppose you don't have groups. You don't have groups, but
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And what stage then? Sorry, Alan, for cutting across to you. At what stage then do those people say, "Well, screw the domestic leagues. We're in this anyway. All we need to do is hover mid-table. We'll have this, and we don't even need to play in England, in Spain, or wherever."
What you will definitely see, what you'll definitely see in the future is reduced number of teams in the top leagues. There won't be 20 teams in the Premier League. They've been pushing for that for quite a while because let's be perfectly honest. Man City beat Burnley 4-0, 5-0 every time they play them. Who wants to see that? Burnley fans don't even want to see that.
Burnley are disease.
The teams need to be in competitive games. I see them reducing the size of the Premier League, forming some sort of a super league. Like you say, you don't want to see Liverpool against Real Madrid every week, but it wouldn't be every week. It'd be no different the 2 times that United play Liverpool in the league in the season.
I suppose on that point, I mean, I take back slightly what I said. Like, I would like to see those vintage or marquee ties every year, but I'd also like to see fresh blood in it.
Oh yeah, definitely not at the cost of competition. It needs to be fair competition.
So it has to work for the pyramid. I think we all agree that. So let's see what happens over the next few weeks. We'll move on, right? So do we need to look at the ownership model for clubs on the back of this?
Well, there's a bit of a push. I know there's protests at Old Trafford on Sunday before the game. There've been protests at Carrington. There's a bit of a push to kind of bring in the German model here, where the fans own 51% of the club, or there can't be a majority individual owner. That's great in theory, but Manchester United's probably valued at, I don't know, somewhere in the region of 4 billion. Yeah, so you've got to get some fans group to come up with 2 billion. So it's obviously going to be some individual who I'd like to offer Gary Neville up for the role, to be honest with you, since he's been doing such gobbing off about it this week. But he'd have to sell his share in Salford City first, because I'm pretty sure you can't own 2 clubs in the league.
Yeah.
But it's great in theory, but at the minute it's something the government would have to get involved in.
Is ownership, when you look at ownership like that in terms of 51% or whatever, is another way to look at that? We don't mind if it is owned by businesses as long as they can't do X, Y, Z, because that's effectively what a shareholder would. That's the impact they would have. Like, they would vote against certain things, right?
Yeah, well, I think fan representatives on the board of directors or board of executives, whatever way you want to look at it, that it can't be you or me. It needs to be somebody that knows business. It can't be just somebody drawn out of a lottery and say, right, you go sit in the office with the boys and have the crack there and just
like Ed Woodward
vote everything that. Well, we'll get on that. But it's just, I think, as I said earlier, football is out of control. I think everybody.
Yeah, but the idea of a fan representative who, yes, he's sat on the board, but would be answerable to, whatever, 20, 30,000 paid subscribers or whatever, like that kind of makes sense. And do you want to input on that, maybe from an FSG perspective?
Yeah, I mean, like before this, I would have said FSG were doing all right. Like the reason I would have said they're doing all right is they had Michael Edwards in charge. Michael Edwards being a lad with a football background. He was an ex-Man United man, but he's done well for us. Like, he's sold players, ordinary players for big money. He's brought in big players, that kind of thing. And then this shit happens. Like, so, pardon my French. But like, where do I stand on the whole ownership model? The ownership model, as it is what it is. But where I stand on it is, where is FIFA fair, or is it UEFA fair play or FIFA fair play?
I think it's yeah.
It's all the same, because it doesn't apply. It doesn't work. It's all lies. Barcelona.
It doesn't apply to the big clubs.
Yeah, exactly. Barcelona were banned from signing players. They signed players, but their contract started. But they were banned from signing players, and they took that to mean they took that to mean that they could sign players, but they didn't have to play them until the ban was over.
Yeah.
Man City, proven that they cheated. Sponsorship me arse. But thrown out because of the way it was found out. Now, come on.
PSG have been found out for doing stuff as well.
Yeah, it's
I think
true.
bring in a set of rules. Apply those rules and apply them fairly. The whole point is Leicester City can come in and win the Premiership because they can get their players. Not some lad can come in and raid their squad, pulling money from God knows where, and just buy the league. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of leagues being bought, and City have been buying the league with the last couple of years. They've been City Co 2008. I refuse to call them Man City because they don't exist anymore since 2008.
Yeah, it's actually
they've been buying the.
It's a good point you make. It's a good point you make, and around like Leicester City, like this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
A Leicester City scenario winning the Premier League still needs to be able to happen, and whatever model we have, that dream has to stay alive for all those other clubs, because every now and then an owner will snap up a smaller club and they will have ambitions to get into these leagues or whatever.
Gary Neville, prime example. I just have to disagree on teams being able to buy the league, because since 2013 United have spent over £1 billion trying to buy the league.
Since 2013 Ed Woodward has been in charge. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Literally, that's the answer.
Well, as the three of us all agree, he's a football man. But we'll move on. Right? Because a related question.
Bullshit.
A related question then, just leading on from that, is how does football safeguard the future for the smaller guys or the people not in the 12?
But it's not for football to safeguard the future of the smaller guys. These are individual businesses. You know, I'd use the analogy of why should Tesco look after the guy who runs the corner shop? You know, it's business. Football is business at the end of the day. And, you know, if you look at it, I'm not, you know, there's the argument, about the football pyramid. And I do, and I get it. And especially if you're a supporter of a League Two club that's in financial difficulties.
Yeah, but is it a bit realistically, like, Paul, is it a bit like a post office in rural Ireland?
I don't know.
in rural Ireland. In rural Ireland, you need a post office, but it may not like be making enough money to survive or whatever, but the local community need it. And football is more than a business to a lot of people. Like it's an outlet, it's a social occasion, it's a lot of things. So, you know,
I agree. But should that be the responsibility of the guys at the top? You know,
but if you have a United being run by an ex-JP Morgan person, and you've got a Swindon Town being run by the guy who manages the B team, you know.
But my point is, it isn't for the top clubs to worry about that. It's something that needs to be brought in. What do the FA do? What do UEFA do? What do FIFA do except line their own pockets? You know, it's in all honesty, it's something that the government is going to have to get involved in, because, and I think, you know, I'm not a Boris Johnson. I do live in. I'd just like to point out at this point, I do live in England. Yeah, I'm not a Boris Johnson fan.
Don't tell him.
I could get the passport any one of these days, lads. I've been here long enough. But, you know, Boris Johnson has shown a bit of an interest. I think Prince William has even shown a bit of an interest in it this week. So, you know, it's something that these guys need to get involved in and sort it out, because clearly football is just devouring itself, really, isn't it?
And what's your view? How do we protect the smaller clubs? Or how?
It is a business, but in the rules, like if you're a bank, you have rules. The banks in Ireland, didn't disobey the rules, they broke the country. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a football club, you have rules. If you're at the top of the game, yes, you are a business. Yes, you're out to make money. But above all else, you should be there to play football. Above all else, you should be trying to win things. And like the rules are, if you're at the top, you have to give a bit back. That's fine. Because when you weren't at the top, the boys at the top were giving you a bit back.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were. I don't think they were. I don't think that's ever been the case in football, where the rich have given to the poor. You know, I don't think that.
That was one of the founding tenets of the Premier League. That's the rules. They have to give a bit back because they went out on their own.
Yeah, but I disagree. I disagree with that in as a theory. I don't
as a
see
theory,
why you should have to give back. I don't see why the teams who come down from the Premier League can you can overspend, and then you get your parachute payments, and
it's
then
not the top clubs giving it, Paul. It wasn't. They're giving that money through a TV deal, basically.
Yeah,
that was kind of struck.
But basically, they're getting. If you look at it at its basis, right, they're getting a TV deal because they were at one stage part of the Football League. That's what made them an attraction. Then they became the Premier League. So I'm assuming it's to do with that.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's the governance. UEFA have to grow a set of balls. Sorry, pardon my French. FIFA have to grow a set of balls. Govern the game. You're allowed to spend this much. End of story. These are the rules.
Yeah.
Stick to them. I mean, I can't see that it'll happen though, because at the end of the day, all these guys are as corrupt as the day is long.
Exactly,
every one of them.
That's what I think. That's to further your point to a degree. UEFA is now a business. FIFA is now a business.
Yeah.
They're there to make their own money.
But
they should be just there. They should be just there to govern the game, and making money is a byproduct of that. Then put the money back into the game. But now they've taken the business model as well. Yeah. So maybe it's business that's ruined football.
But the problem is not all clubs are created equally, and these clubs have a lot of power. So it's how do you deliver something that works for them and works for the little guys? So there's going to be a bit of
that power is now gone, eroded. Imagine anything. Imagine your not Ed Woodward's replacement coming to the table, lads. I think we should do this. No.
Yeah.
Chris Wilder didn't want 5 subs at the start of the year. He got it because all the small lads can get together.
Yeah.
But that's democracy. They are the rules. They are the rules of that league. And if them clubs want to play by those rules, that's the way it is. Yeah. But the rules shouldn't be for Sheffield United. They shouldn't be for Norwich. They shouldn't be for Bournemouth. And then we're Liverpool, we're Man United, we're Chelsea, and City Go 2008 especially. We don't care. Yeah. No, the rules are for everyone.
Yeah, as long as you're in it, regardless of, you have to obey those rules. But as I said, the Barcelona president says they're still looking at it. They're still going to try and progress these ideas. I heard today that they're looking at cross-border leagues, for example, bringing Rangers and Celtic down to England and things like that. So there's a whole host of stuff being looked at.
Well, that's not shot in the mouth before. Do you remember they tried to bring Wimbledon to Dublin?
Yeah.
And they said no.
Yeah. But if you think about it, it's
attitude, and
that they're huge clubs, and they're, obviously they're important in the Scottish League, but the people who are looking at it from a financial perspective will just see big fan bases, right? How do we get those big fan bases into our league? Probably. So and big fan bases mean big kind of subscriptions and all these
to the Celtic and Rangers fan, it means nothing as long as they hammer the 10 shades of shite out of each other in the derby and one of them wins. And a certain 10 in a row or 9 in a row or 7 in a row gets stopped. Go on, let's.
Right. I think we'll wrap it up there. We're on the old Zoom free
on the Zoom limit. Yeah.
I'm going to wrap it up before we get kicked off. But that's the
two of you went for. Can I just say one thing before you start? So apologies. Two of you went for an outside bet, right? So my outside bet is a 3-draw Sunday.
3
on the Premier League.
3-draw Sunday.
3 draw. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll bear that in mind. But listen, thanks, lads, for your thoughts on the European Super League and putting up your predictions. We'll review those next week and see how we all got on. We'll have another topic next week. We'll figure out what that is. There's a few on the list, including VAR and a few things like that. So there's plenty to talk about. So we'll post this video. Yeah,
I think everybody's forgotten about VAR, haven't they?
Oh, they have, but they shouldn't.
It was the worst thing in football a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Still is.
So we'll post this video on YouTube. If you like it, just give it a thumbs up so that we know how people feel about it, and if you want to see more. And if you want to try and download the app, make your predictions and start following people, it's Bookbreakrs, BOOKBREAKRS. It's on the App Store, and there's links on social media and various things like that. So that's it. Over and out. See you later.
Peace.